Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking and Barry here, back again, and you know what that means. That's right, a brand new episode of Ant Facts will be at the end of this video. Yeah, I think that's the best thing for me to do because, hey, I love my Ant Facts, I'm sure you all do as well, but they take up quite a bit of time at the beginning of this video. I have one. I have a good hot and juicy Ant Fact for you right here, but I'll leave the chapters and you could skip to it if you want to at the very end of the video if you just, like, need your Ant Fact, but otherwise, I think we should just get into the main topic of today's video, which is, of course, will Yamato become the next member of the Straw Hat Crew? Which was apparently stated in the last chapter, and I did not even mention it in the review. So that takes a little bit of explanation. First off, spoilers for chapter 1016 of One Piece, if you haven't read it yet. So, I did read that line. It wasn't like I missed it when I first read it, but my reaction to that was very clearly a little different from everyone else's reaction, because, holy crap, everybody's losing it. Like, Yamato's gonna join the Straw Hats! That's awesome! I'm like, hey, I want Yamato to join the Straw Hats! That would be awesome! But the way I read that line was like, okay, Yamato's squaring off against Kaido on the roof. Kaido's the giant dragon. Like, you know, Woro, Yamato, you should just submit and become the Shogun of Wano like you were always meant to be. And then Yamato's like, no, father, after we're done driving you out of Onigashima and Wano, I will go out to sea with Luffy's crew. And, you know, everyone was like losing it over that. Now, the way I took that was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yamato has said that before. Yamato wants to go out to sea with Luffy and just get away from Wano in general, like Kozuki Oden did. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense for Yamato's character. Okay, cool. I think it's because Yamato has said this before. This is not like the first time, like it came out of nowhere, like Yamato's like, I'm gonna get out of here and I'm gonna join the Straw Hats, you know? That was like something Yamato said directly to Luffy, I think back in like, I don't know, it was probably like the early 990 chapters, or maybe the 980s, right when Yamato first was introduced and met Luffy and they were still running around the tower and Yamato still had the handcuffs on and everything. Yamato directly said to Luffy, like, hey, you know, because of Ace and everything, I knew your brother, will you take me out to sea? Will you be able to, like, take me on a boat and leave Wano? And Luffy didn't exactly give a yes or a no. They kind of got into an argument after that, but, you know, Yamato already brought it up. And then there was also the flashback with Yamato and Ace, where I believe Yamato there also said, hey, I want to go out to sea. Now, obviously, that didn't work out because of a multitude of reasons, not the least of which being the handcuffs that were still on Yamato and everything like that. But this is not the first time Yamato has, you know, declared, you know, I want to get out of Wano, I want to leave. And it's not even the first time, you know, I want to leave with the Straw Hats. So I guess that's the reason I didn't freak out over it. I'm like, okay, this has already been said before, yeah. Now, it's also a pretty big difference between Yamato just declaring, I'm going to sail with the Straw Hat Crew, and then Luffy actually being like, will you become a member of my crew? That's a very different thing. But also, you gotta remember how Nico Robin joined. Remember how Robin joined. That was a very different kind of style than all the other Straw Hats, where Luffy usually says, you know, hey, join my crew. You know, he said that to Zoro, he said that to Brook, he said that to Frankie, but the way Robin joined was just, she was chilling out on the Mary after the Alabasta arc, and just sitting there, you know, reading a book, drinking some coffee or whatever, and then she just says, hey, you destroyed the entire organization that I was a part of, and, yeah, I don't have anywhere to go, so I guess I'm with you guys from now on. You at least owe me that much. And Luffy was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Welcome aboard. You know, so Luffy, I don't think Luffy ever had the moment with, like, you know, Nico Robin, join my crew, be my Nakama. No, the way Robin joined was kind of low-key, and she's sort of the one that was like, hey, you destroyed where I, like, live and work, so I have to come with you. And Luffy's like, yeah, that makes sense. I did do that. All right, sure, welcome aboard. You know? So, for that reason, I would love Yamato to join. That would be awesome, right? And for the fact of just Yamato being like, can I travel with you guys? And Luffy, I feel like he would accept that. I made a video where I went through, like, what if Luffy accepted, like, every character from every arc in One Piece? You know, that was, like, a good two-part video I did. And it brought up the question I had of, like, hey, what happens if somebody directly asks Luffy to join the crew? Because like I said, most of the time, Luffy is the one that asks, like Jinbei, for instance, and it took a while. It took like 10 years from the moment that Luffy asked Jinbei to join to the moment where he's actually fighting alongside all of the Straw Hats at Wano. That took like almost a decade in and of itself. Hopefully that won't happen again if Yamato does join, right? So... yeah, that's the situation there. Like, so Yamato asked Luffy, not really so much asked, Yamato was just like, hey, Ace kind of made me this promise, or I made this promise with Ace, and he's gone now, so by extension, you're his brother, you'll take me out to sea, right? So, Yamato, very direct with it, and Luffy, like I said, didn't really give a yes or a no, kind of changed the subject into something else. But after everything has settled down, after everything is ended, and Kaido is driven out of Wano, and Big Mom is gone, and all of the Beast Pirates have been crushed, and Wano is beginning to rebuild, and we have the big epic banquet hall, you know, the scene where all the samurai and the 9 Red Scabbards and the Straw Hats and the Heart Pirates and the Kid Pirates all get together for an awesome freaking banquet of meat and booze and all that stuff. And Yamato maybe asks Luffy again, maybe a little bit more politely this time, isn't just like, I'm gonna go out to sea with you, what time are we shipping out tomorrow, Luffy? Maybe it's just like, hey, you know, can I actually join your crew now? And I think Luffy, I don't see any reason why Luffy would say no to that, you know, considering also if Yamato right now is, you know, going to fight against Kaido, which, well, that's already started, you know, we already saw the clash, not a question of that, but is a question of maybe Luffy's going to come back up to Onigashima and maybe fight alongside Yamato for a little while. Might not be the entirety of the fight, Luffy might still get that final blow, as I've stated multiple times, but it might be a thing where, like, Yamato's, like, right about to be defeated, and then Luffy shows up, and then Luffy and Yamato maybe do some really cool combination attack or something, and then boom, you know, they send Kaido reeling, and he's like, whoa, no, and then Yamato maybe passes out like, that's all I have, Luffy, finish my father off, bam, and then that's when Luffy's like, I will, Yamato, gear forth, king, Cobra Kong gun, you know, something along those lines, and maybe if, that what I mean by that is if, like, Luffy and Yamato fought Kaido together for even only a brief amount of time, Luffy would see the strength and dedication and resolve in Yamato, and Luffy would be like, you know, actually this would be a moment, maybe right before Yamato, like, loses consciousness from Kaido's attack or something, Luffy says, you know, hey, Yamato, you can join my crew if you want, and then Yamato, like, passes out, so, you know, can't hear the whole thing, but it's just like, Luffy, I did my best, you can join my crew if you want, and then that's when Luffy defeats Kaido, and that would be a cool moment, something like that. But yeah, we are moving on to the final saga of One Piece here. Of course, I want Carrot to join as well, but hey, you know what? We can have both. Carrot, come on, be the lookout of the crew, and then Yamato also join and be, I don't know, what position? I think, so there's quartermaster, there's like a standard position aboard a ship, like a pirate ship that, like, historically there was a quartermaster. There's nobody, like, quartermaster is a position that really hasn't been overtly stated in One Piece. It's kind of a position that's taken up by, like, other characters and with their jobs. Like, Nami is basically the quartermaster of the Straw Hat crew, even though she's the navigator, right? So, yeah, Jinbei's the helmsman, of course. Carrot would make an awesome lookout because, you know, she's a bunny. She can jump on top of the mast and to the mast and look out to see things. Yeah, that's a job, all right? And then Yamato, I mean, Yamato can just be a combatant, can just be a fighter, right? I mean, the same thing with Zoro. Zoro is pretty much the first mate of the crew, but he's also a fighter, you know, that along that line. There's a lot of other crews out there that have a much larger number of people on board their ships, and they just have, like, just a group that are just like, these are the fighters of the ship. So yeah, Yamato, that'd be pretty sweet. I think still I want to go with my idea of also by the end of the story of there basically being this new alliance between Luffy, who will become the, you know, Kaizoku Oni Orowanar. He'll become king of the pirates by the end of the story. But then Big Mom will get, you know, dethroned from power, same as Kaido. So it'll be Katakuri and Yamato, which will make an alliance with Luffy or something. I just picture that in my head as this very symbolic thing of, like, okay, before the Yonko were all at odds with each other, and you know what, honestly, the funny thing is, if the Yonko all worked together in unison, they would be able to take down the world government. I mean, just two of them working in an alliance is enough to make the freaking government shit their pants, basically, you know, with like just Big Mom and Kaido. But if all of the Yonko, or even just 2 or 3 of the Yonko, had a common goal to come together, they could have devastated the world government. They could have, you know, freed all of the slaves at Marijois. Like, they have that power to do that. It's just that, except for Big Mom and Kaido right now, they cannot form an alliance. Like, there's no way Shanks would ever form an alliance with Blackbeard. And even with Kaido and Big Mom's alliance right now, I think that's kind of hanging on by a thread already. You know, that could change at any moment as well. But maybe with this new alliance, because at the end of the story, the Celestial Dragons, the world government, is not going to fall completely, but the Celestial Dragons will. The infrastructure will still be there, but there still might need to be a way to, like, maintain the power balance in the world. And I think if that happens, like, you know, Katakuri, Luffy, Yamato, maybe some other really strong pirates, like Law could be in there as another Yonko, because Luffy's going to be the king of the pirates. He won't necessarily be a Yonko. He's basically considered one of the emperors right now, but I'm talking at, like, the end of the series, right? So that was my original idea, and, you know, if Yamato joins the Straw Hats, you know, that might throw a wrench into things, but not really, no, because Yamato could travel with the Straw Hats for the rest of their journey, go to Elbaf. Don't you want to see Yamato fight a giant? Yamato could quite literally fight Odin. That would be awesome, alright? Don't even know why. I mean, Odin might be a good guy. He might be like, I am Odin, the all-father of the giants. Welcome! And Yamato's like, let's fight. I don't know why, but it'll look cool. I'm like, yeah, okay, that is true. That would look pretty cool. Bam! You know? They're gonna go to Elbaf, and then eventually go to Laugh-Tale. And, you know, at the end of the day, the Straw Hats are gonna need as much muscle as they're going to get here. They're gonna need, like, ultimate muscle. Like the show, Ultimate Muscle. Ultimate Muscle. Ultimate... Sorry, I flashed back to the early 2000s there for a second. But no, they're gonna need a lot more muscle on their crew, because, you know, you got the Blackbeard pirates waiting for them, you got all the really strong Marines. You know, if it really is going to be a thing where the Straw Hats reach Laugh-Tale, that's all well and good, and they find the One Piece, oh, that's great, you found the great treasure, you're now the Pirate King. They step out of the door of Laugh-Tale, and then boom, like, they're being chased after by pretty much every other faction in the world, and it's going to kick off the Throne Wars, as Doflamingo said. Doflamingo might even be there as well. It would be an insane battle, and yeah, Jinbei joining is great, but they're gonna need Yamato too. Also Carrot. They're gonna need Carrot, guys. It's gonna have to happen if they have any hope of winning, right? Okay. So yeah, that's how it is. I really hope Yamato joins. I think the odds are pretty good right now. Just from me reading the last chapter, though, I didn't immediately take that as, like, 100% confirmed. This is happening now. Maybe I would have if it was, like, the last panel of the chapter, because it wasn't. If the last panel of the chapter was Kaido and Yamato, like, clashing with the Conquerors at the top of Onigashima, maybe if it was something different, like Yamato pulls back the Kanabo, and then Kaido pulls back the Kanabo, and then they're about to clash, and, like, in the last panel of the chapter, as we see that lightning shoot off of the roof of Onigashima, Yamato declares, like, after I'm done defeating you, Kaido! And then Kaido's like, whoa! And then, like, I will become a Straw Hat pirate! Boom! Last panel of the chapter, and that's, like, the dialogue over it. I'd be like, okay, that's... Oda's really laying it on there pretty thick at the end of the last chapter. You know, 2-week break with that. But, you know, that's not how it went. But, you know, the odds are pretty good, so we'll see where that goes. Something else about the last chapter. Another thing, not as many people mentioned, but still kind of an important thing to bring up here. So Kaido mentioned his purpose in Wano. Why is he there right now? Like, or why did he set up shop in Wano over 20 years ago, right? And so he doesn't go into great detail there. He just says, like, there's a reason I'm here. There's a purpose for me being in Wano. It's not just like I picked this place out of a hat, or it's because Orochi extended an offer and I just happened to take it up. No, there's a reason he's there, okay? So, Kaido clearly knows stuff about JoyBoy. He confirmed that when he, like, sent Luffy, like, home-runned Luffy off the side of Onigashima. He's like, you couldn't become JoyBoy either. You know, whether he was referring to Momo, or Odin, or Roger, whatever, he knows about the existence of JoyBoy. So, right then and there, that knowledge alone is not something very common in the One Piece world, okay? We, as a fan base, did not even hear the word JoyBoy, the name JoyBoy, until the Fishman Island arc. you know, when this series was already like freaking 13, 14 years into serialization, all right? When Robin read it off of the poneglyph at Fishman Island, all right? So this is something that, yeah, like, I'm sure, you know, Odin knew about it, obviously, because he could read poneglyphs. Roger knew about it because, you know, Odin was on his crew and everything. But for that knowledge just to exist in, you know, random people, civilians in the One Piece world, that's not a thing. So how did Kaido learn about JoyBoy, like even hear the name? Maybe from rocks, maybe from, you know, like I said, studying stuff in, you know, the Flower Capital. But no, it couldn't have been that. It had to have been before that, because that's the whole reason Kaido went to Wano, because this prophecy speaks about JoyBoy returning, and Odin wanted to open up the gates to Wano. There's something in that prophecy that has to be worded kind of like, you know, when JoyBoy returns to the world, he will reappear in the land of Wano, or he will arrive at Wano, or he will head to Wano. It has to be worded something like that, because Odin, as soon as the Roger Pirates disbanded, he made a beeline back home, and he's like, I gotta get back home, I gotta, you know, assume my rightful place as the shogun of the country, I gotta get everything set back on track, so I can open up the doors of Wano and ready myself for JoyBoy's arrival, okay? So it has to be worded like JoyBoy's either going to return in Wano, or after he does return, he's going to head to Wano, okay? And so, Kaido learned about this prophecy as well from somewhere. Kaido cannot read poneglyphs, so either he had somebody that could read them for him, or something that happened on Rock's crew, he learned about this prophecy, okay? So, how old do you think Kaido is? Let's say, I'm thinking that, like, Queen and King are probably around their 50s right now. Jack is 28. He's a little younger than them. He's like their little brother. So let's put Kaido as younger than Big Mom, but not quite as, like in his mid-50s. Let's put Kaido around 60. I think that's probably about right. He was an apprentice while on Rox's crew. So if he's 60 years old, 38 years ago, he would have been about 22, you know, if I don't suck at math, but I do, so I probably got that wrong. But he would have been around, like, 22, but, you know, the Rocks crew was around for before that. That's when the crew got destroyed. They were probably, you know, raiding the seas up and down the Grand Line for, like, maybe a decade or even longer before that. So maybe he joined up when he was, like, a teenager or as a child. Maybe Rocks found baby Kaido and, like, he was on the crew or something like that. That also goes into line with Big Mom saying that Kaido was, like, a little brother to her while he was on the crew. So if Big Mom is like 7 or 8 years older than Kaido, you know, she's 67 right now. Say Kaido was picked up by Rocks when he was like 10 and Big Mom would have been like 17, 18. That would have made sense for Big Mom to be like, oh, he's like our little brother or something. Like, okay. And so let's go with like age 60, all right? If that's the situation, he arrived in Wano. We don't know the exact year, but it was in between 30 years ago and 25 years ago that Kaido arrived, I think. Because Odin went out to sea with Whitebeard 30 years ago. And everything was fine in Wano. Everything was doing good. Odin was the daimyo of the Curry region. Sukiyaki was still alive. Orochi was still beginning his nefarious plan and everything. But 30 years ago in Wano, everything was still pretty stable, okay? And then he travels with Whitebeard for a few years. Then he travels with Roger. And then they go back to Wano to get the poneglyph during their last journey 25 years ago. And then that's when Odin starts to notice all of the factories around Wano. So Orochi's already beginning factory production. The whole reason those factories exist are to create weapons, and who's he selling off the weapons to? Kaido. So I'm going to assume that it was probably somewhere around maybe 27, 26, 25 years ago, while Odin was out traveling, that's when Orochi made the deal with Kaido, and Kaido, you know, set up shop in Wano. And keep in mind, though, when Kaido arrived there, he did not have a lot of fighting power, okay? He didn't have this huge beast pirates with, like, the smiles and waiters and pleasures and everybody, right? He might not have even had Queen and King and Jack at that point, right? Probably not Jack. He might have not even have been born yet. Because Kaido even mentioned this himself. When Odin first returned from his journey with Roger 25 years ago, and then tried to kill Orochi, and then, you know, they did the deal with, like, the dancing in the streets and everything, later on, Kaido did say, you know, if you would have fought us full force back then, if you would have went back to Curry and rallied all of your scabbards together and got all the samurai ready to fight, if you would have fought us then, you probably would have won, because we were still in the middle of, like, building my fortress, and we were still in the middle of, like, gathering manpower, plus he fought against Moria there, so that, I mean, Moria lost, but Moria might have taken out a few of Kaido's fighting force and stuff like there, so it was a little bit unstable there. That seemed to imply that was kind of the beginning of Kaido's, like, pirate career, right? So if the remnants of the Rocks crew disbanded 38 years ago, and then let's say you give it about maybe 10 years for Kaido to recover from that, wherever he was in the world. He had just received the power of the Ua Ua no Mi, so, you know, that was given to him by Big Mom at God Valley, so it might have taken him a little while to get the hang of the dragon fruit, and then realizing what he needed to do, what he wanted to do, what his ultimate goal was, to build up his own pirate crew. So it gave him about 10 years of that. I'm sure he had a crew. He had a pirate crew at that point, and he was probably feared as, like, an up-and-coming, like, rookie in the world at that point. But by the time he arrived in Wano, between 30 and 25 years ago, he didn't have a huge fighting force or anything like that. So that's the reason, you know, they built the place on Onigashima, and that's why he made the deal with Orochi to begin with, right? And that was all for his ultimate goal, which was probably to meet JoyBoy. And we've talked about this before, like, why would he want to meet JoyBoy? To fight JoyBoy, or to get the One Piece himself, or something else involving this prophecy? We do not know. But it was not as simple as just, like, Orochi being like, "Ah, I am Lord Orochi! Hello there, Kaido! I hear you're a strong pirate. Will you come into Wano and help me make my great empire?" You know, and Kaido's like, "Sure, I guess I got nothing else to do." No, it might have even have been a thing where Kaido, he's the one that sought Orochi. Kaido might have maybe had spies or somebody keeping an eye on Wano, and like the instability with the ruling clans and everything like that. And then after Orochi took over, Kaido might have been the one to approach Orochi. I thought it was the other way around for so long. You know, I thought it was like Orochi that was the one that like double-crossed all of Wano and accepted, you know, Kaido into his midst as like a beginning theory. This was before we even knew about Orochi's like past or anything. That's I thought like way back in the day, my original theory was Orochi was a well-respected daimyo or noble that sold out his country to Kaido. That was the original idea until we found out about the Kurozumi clan and really where all that ties together. But no, it was probably Kaido. Kaido arrived in Wano, probably not as a dragon, that might have been a little bit too conspicuous, but arrived in Wano and brokered a deal, like, I want to speak to the Shogun. And he had a private meeting with Orochi, and he's like, "Listen, I've heard the stories about Wano. I need to set up my base here. Will you ally with me?" And Orochi, being Orochi, would be like, "Yes, absolutely." So that's probably how that went there. But yeah, Yamato joining the Straw Hats. Let's see where that goes. That'd be really epic there. We need to get these posters updated, though. We need way more Jinbei, way more Yamato, and also Carrots. So let's just work with that. We can have, 12 members of the Straw Hat crew. 12 is a good number. 12 is a good number. Nice round number. That's nice. The 12 members of the Straw Hat Pirates. That has a good ring to it. I'm just saying. I was a little bit dubious, because if Carrot joined and that was all, then we would just get 11 members of the Straw Hat crew. And 11 is a good number, but it's no number 12. You know what I mean? All right. Well, anyway, that was the video. Oh, no, we got to do Anfax. All right. That's why. I was forgetting something. Okay, so that was the video. Now we can move on to...
Anfax. Facts about ants and other insects, but mostly ants.
Yeah, facts about ants! Thanks, Felix. Okay, so today's ant fact is going to be about probably my favorite species of ant. And it's not just one species, it's over 200 species. The army ant. Anybody out there that reads Dr. Stone knows where I'm going with this, because the army ants had a very integral role, a few dozen chapters ago. They were really laid out. You know how strong Tsukasa is in Dr. Stone? Tsukasa himself said, yeah, I am not the strongest warrior in the jungle. I'm not the strongest creature here. You know, jaguars, whatever. You know, poisonous insects and spiders, whatever. The army ant, that's the thing that would completely destroy me and, like, strip the skin off of my bones. And they really would! They are truly, absolutely terrifying. So, what makes the army ant so fascinating is it's a superorganism, okay? Like, okay, we together are the single strongest, like, insect species ever. Because they don't have regular nests or colonies as, like, a lot of ants do. They literally just gwomp together, sorry, Barry, into, like, a living ball, alright? And then they send out these raiding parties, these foraging parties in these giant columns all along the forest floor of, like, the Amazon. And then if anything even moves, bam, they just get devoured. Look at this poor grasshopper, for God's sakes. Hold on a second, let me try something. Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. Yeah, R.I.P. that grasshopper. Anyway, yeah, they send out these raiding parties into the Amazon forest, and they can consume up to over 500,000 prey species a day. 500,000, 500,000 a day. They just wipe out anything that moves around them, okay? And, you know, there's such a huge superorganism. Don't walk barefoot through the Amazon, is all I could tell you. Now, if you're walking and you see this large column of ants just in the opposite direction, you turn and you run, and you don't get close, okay? Because they will attack you. It doesn't matter that you're bigger than them or whatever. This is a superorganism that literally just fights everything, and the more you struggle, the more you're gonna go down. They have these huge freaking mandibles, these giant, like, jaws like scissors that just cut into you, right? And so that is probably one of the worst ways I imagine to go out in existence, right? There's a lot of crappy ways to go out. Can't be fun. That is not a painless way to go. But yeah, also they're pretty much the most effective predators in the entirety of the Amazon rainforest, okay? And like I said, this is the freaking Amazon we're talking about here. There's freaking jaguars and stuff down there, okay? But no, the army ants, do not want to mess with them. At any rate, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out. Play the Ant Facts intro again. Ant Facts! Yeah. Later, everybody.